Hey, this is Regina White Favors with a new series. The series is titled What Do You Bring to the Table? And it is part of the Overcoming Rebound Relationships curriculum and then also the Toxic Encounters books. And you can find those tabs marked as rebounding and also toxic encounter books on my website, reginawhitefavors.com. So, this particular series I thought is very interesting because there's this sort of ongoing social media discussion concerning men asking women what do they bring to the table, and it segues into conversations about submission and how most men want a submissive wife or partner. They're not always inclined to transition the individual into becoming a wife, but they want the individual or the woman to be submissive. And so it has transitioned into those types of discussions of submission and also tradition, that they want a traditional wife. And many people define tradition or a traditional wife as someone who cooks and cleans and stays at the house. They tend to be a housekeeper, homekeeper, a housewife. But I noticed that there's an irony to the discussion about what do they bring to the table, because most men who ask that question tend to label themselves or categorize themselves as alpha men, and they still, when a woman responds with the fact that she makes a certain income or she works a certain job or she has education, the men will say, well, that's not important to alpha men, right? Or that's not important to men just in general. And the irony that I find very interesting is that these men want a traditional submissive wife, but they also want her to work. They don't want the 50s, 40s, 50s type of wives who stayed home where the man went out and he was the breadwinner. What they want is still the woman to work and still the woman to be able to tend to the home, tend to the husband in a very traditional way, not have any true independence or anything like that. But when a woman says, well, she makes a certain amount of money or she has education, they sort of mock and scorn and look down on that. So I've been thinking about this series for a good while and just kind of listening to discussions and being sort of turned off by those discussions, as well as wondering, I mean, do people really know what they want? The most important thing that people need to understand is that you are always 100% responsible for yourself. So that means you need to do all that you need to do to ensure that you establish you. Just because someone decides to get an education or make a lot of money doesn't mean that they think that person is better than you. That's what you're supposed to do as an adult. You're supposed to leave your parents' home, get a job, go to school, get your own apartment, get a house, get a car, pay bills. That's what you're supposed to do. And so this discussion about what do you bring to the table is something that I want to explore. I don't know if I'm going to turn it into a script or something, but I have created a workbook companion that I'm going to introduce you to in a few slides. So this is what do you bring to the table, and this is preparing your table for engagement. And your table for engagement depends on where you are in your development. If you are preparing your table for engagement, if you are in your 30s or your 40s, well, it is, you've likely already received your education or completed your education, and so now you are already establishing yourself. So now you are at a 30s mindset, or if you're in your 40s, you're at a 40s mindset. So how you perceive the world and how you engage with another person is going to be a lot different than the person who is in their 20s, right? So preparing your table means whatever it means in terms of the particular topics we're going to discuss, but also just your table in terms of your mindset. your mentality about relationships, about relationship building. If you're the type of person who quits relationships after a certain time and you don't have a record of staying in a relationship longer than 6 months, that is your table. And so you're going to have to really address that part of your um, emotional development. So this is, what do you bring to the table? Preparing your table for engagement. So the curriculum is based upon the research I did for rebounding and rebound relationships. And that research you can find under the rebounding tab. And the rebound relationship research focuses on understanding the table. So this is the table that we're at as two partners. One of the partners is a rebound, and the other partner is a member of a core relationship. And so when you are engaging in relationships, especially romantically, and you don't know that the partner is already engaged with someone else, and that can be as in marriage, or it can be just in a long-term relationship, it's time to really think about what's going on with the table that you're sitting at. So that's understanding the table. And then the Toxic Encounters books um, do derive from that research. And so I go over that at the end of the presentation here. But it's Overcoming Rebound Relationships curriculum, and it is when you need to leave the table. So the three books, three titles under the series, the Bait, Hook, and Switch series, focus on rebound relationships, why people pursue them, focuses on also adult attachment, and then encourages the reader to go no contact. So this is the curriculum in addition to the workbook companion. So here's the workbook companion. What do you bring to the table? This is the series, and then this is taking many of the ideas that I have in this presentation and putting it into book form. So it's about 130 pages, and it is available on Amazon. What is your education and career table? So that goes back to um, where you're going to take yourself, your preparation, right? So you know you're going to need an education. There's no way around it, whether you go the vocational education route or the college education route. Regardless, you're going to need post high school uh, education. So this is one of the questions that people that many of the men on social media are attacking women for. And the women are saying they have education, they have a career, they have a house, they have this, whatever. But the men, the so-called alpha men who are on these podcasts, feel like, okay, that doesn't matter. Most alpha men don't care about that, things like that. But it is my urgent um, urgent desire and request that you continue on doing what it is that you're doing, because if you need an education, you need post high school knowledge in order for you to operate. And when you have people who ask these types of questions, there's a lot more insecurity in that question, in asking that question, because anyone who already has an education or has some, you don't see them having a problem with it. You don't see them being skeptical and mocking and sarcastic and hostile and disrespectful. So usually the person who asking this question is the type of person who doesn't have what it is that he is asking or she is asking, because uh, looking down on someone's education, it's just strange that you would do that in 2023 when career fields and industries are becoming very specialized. It's like asking someone, why do you have a tech degree? So what? Okay, you have a computer science degree, you have a information systems degree, because that's where we are, that's where we're going. Now we have this issue with AI. And so how is it in um and digital online learning and remote work and things like that. And so now there are certifications for that. Okay, so how are you going to tell somebody that, okay, you don't need all that. You just be a good person. Okay, just go get a good job. Many of those jobs are turning into robot jobs as well. Some things are not going to be accessible to you like they were many years ago. So you have to change with the times, and that's what that basically means. Even if you're already in your Even if you've already completed your education and you are already in your career, there's still this idea that you have to improve, you know, stay abreast of new technologies, stay abreast of your field, your industry. What should you be learning? What should you know? Where do you want to go with yourself? Do you need an advanced degree in order for you to have an administrative position? That's your table. That should be everyone's table. So then the question becomes, the person who has a problem with that table, the fact that you have that table, you come to the table with an education, with a career, you come to the table like that. So then why are you then choosing someone who doesn't believe in that? This is what you see a lot of times with women who are very um, career driven, have high education, etc. They pick people who don't. They pick men who don't have the education, or they pick men who don't keep a job, or they pick men who don't have a career, or they pick men just who keeps going in and out of jail. They keep picking men who don't look like them. And so education and career, or education and job stability, should be every person's, every 100% adult, every 100% responsible adult goal. That's a that is a life goal. That is not something that is negotiable. That's not something that is optional. You can't live with your parents forever. So that means that if you don't get an education, or if you don't get a career, or if you don't get sustainable work where you stay on the job for 10, 15, 20 years or more and move up, then you're going to end up homeless, or you're going to end up having to live with people, or you're going to end up. It's all the people, I say this all the time, it's all the people who say you don't need this and just live for the day, who always end up needing money from you, and who always end up coming, uh, having to come live with you. Those are always those individuals. And so when you are having to deal with someone who is questioning whether or not you have the right to pursue what you want to pursue, that's something that you have to ask at the table. Because if you really want to waste your life, waste your life with someone who doesn't think the same way you do, just ask them about the education question. Ask them about the career question, because it's very easy to do. It's extremely easy to do. So when you're thinking about the career table, and asking that question, that's a question. And what are their plans? What plans do they have? So if they don't have what they have right now, what are the plans that they need to adopt? Because we're looking to be together for how many years? 10, 15, 20, 25 years, hopefully to death do us part. And you don't know if you need to get an education or not. You don't know if you need to pursue some sort of vocational education. You don't know if you need to pursue a sustainable business, anything. And if they don't have an answer for you, then that's a table that you have to reconsider. That is not the right table for you, because if you have something and they don't have something, it's going to create conflict. It's going to create insecurity. So, what is your education and career table? So these are the toxic encounter books that I mentioned earlier. This is Toxic Encounters: Why People Pursue Rebound Relationships, Part One. Then Toxic Encounters: Adult Attachment and the Problem with Rebounding, Part Two. And then Toxic Encounters: Why You Should Go No Contact Post Rebounding, Part Three. So this is part of the Overcoming Rebound Relationship curriculum, and these were the three initial books in terms of research where I go over um, rebound relationships, how it relates to adult attachment, and that's why we tend to stay in those types of relationships because we become attached. Is usually an insecure attachment, and you can chart the insecure attachment from your childhood to your adulthood. Then, of course, going no contact. Visit, subscribe, and follow. So this is the standard logo for the Regina White Favors website. And so you can also visit me on Facebook, Arthur Regina White Favors, YouTube, Regina White Favors channel, and then our Amazon Arthur page, amazon.com /Arthur Regina White Favors. Thank you very much for listening.